And this morning, we're going to be looking at being in business, the advantages and disadvantages. My name is Lowell Ann, and in my coaching and consulting work, I help solopreneurs stay focused and motivated as we take them or their business to the next level. We use some pretty simple structures and some easy technology. So we'll be right back after this. So, greetings wherever you are this morning, or this afternoon, or this evening, whatever it might be, and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. This is a weekly success circle intended as a support for solopreneurs. We get together because we enjoy each other's company. We also like experimenting and sharing information and sharing ideas. And this morning we were saying that this Vivek and I were chatting earlier in the green room. We were talking about resources, sharing resources, and how important that is to some of us. You can just and of course the other thing that we do is we give and receive support in a variety of ways. We all stand for our operating principles, which you will find on my website page. And I want to welcome our green room participants this morning. I think I can see whoever is here this morning. Oh, there's a couple more people I hadn't seen earlier. So of course, the very first thing that we usually do is introduce each other. But you know what? I remember that we all talked about how important it was maybe to be reminded once in a while of some of the operating principles that many of us agree to. So let's see, I think that I started from the bottom last week, and I think I shared Alana's principle last time. I will share Sue Ferreira. And we haven't seen Sue for a long time because she's very busy running her own system similar to this, for women who want to learn how to do their own videos. But she contributed this to our operating principles. We never sell anything we are not prepared to deliver impeccably. So that's my reminder of one of our operating principles this morning. So let's see. Who was here first? Nancy, you were here first, other than Vivek, and he's always here first. So I can't ask him to start us off every time. So how would you like to introduce yourself, Nancy?
Okay, thanks, Lowell. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for hosting. Well, I'm a holistic nutritionist and a Qigong instructor. And after suffering from chronic fatigue fibromyalgia for many years and really being disabled, I discovered the secret to creating a pain-free, lifelong lifestyle change that's simple and attainable. Just using the energy from the practice of Qigong and some top-notch supplementation. It's amazing the changes that can happen. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to invest an awful lot of time, and you can change your life.
Ah, and I know because I follow you on Instagram. I loved some of the things that you shared from the Yukon. So
Oh,
you just came back from visiting what, a son?
my daughter
Oh, a
just had a
daughter.
baby, so my first grandson. Yeah.
Oh, right on. So
Hmm.
in the Yukon, White Horse?
White horse.
Right on.
Oh.
Cool.
Ooh, the opposite of Victoria.
Yes, no
Beautiful,
kidding.
beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
country. Very rough and rustic.
Yes, quite mountainous as I recall. I've been to
Yeah.
White Horse.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yes.
right on.
Uh,
Well, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. Me too.
Right.
Missed them all, but it's, you've got to get on with your life. And that's why today is actually a very, it was just perfect timing. Perfect timing. We'll
To
talk about
to
why later.
to get refocused on your business after being,
Yeah.
you were on holiday, really, weren't you?
Yeah, and I rarely have done that, I realize. Find that very hard being in business to step away because you
Mm-hmm.
really, myself, I feel like I've really dropped the ball. And now it's
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do to catch up.
You will catch up, and that break in what you do and all your concerns and everything. That break is a healthy thing to have.
Yeah, thanks, Laura.
Spoken as a true coach.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Right on.
Aw.
So, Fred, how about you? What's new with you this week?
Hello, I'm Fred Jones. I'm in Victoria on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, in Canada. And I'm the creator of Our Future Leaders, which is really a cutting edge online group program for young people, help them with their self confidence by learning how to communicate with each other and some leadership skills. And this will help them when they get into adulthood because the world's changing dramatically, and it helped them become some of the leaders that we require in this world with this
Mm-hmm.
very rapidly changing world. And what's new? I moved as of yesterday, no longer looking after 6 chickens and 2 Australian cattle dogs. So it's quiet here compared to where I was, or I only have to look after a few fish uh, in the house. But then next week I move to another place in Oak Bay where I'll be looking after a dog. So it's exciting. It makes life interesting having to change.
Right. Well, yes, and that's true. We all, we can so easily fall into that resist change thing. So it's really nice when you when you have to do it all the time. It starts to feel like fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. Right.
There's challenges like everything in life. Nothing's perfect, but it's certainly I enjoy it,
Right on.
especially meeting some of the animals that I meet. It's wonderful. I realize how much I like dogs. I used to have 5 dogs when I lived in South Africa, but I know how much it's like having a child. There's a lot of responsibility, and now I get my dog fix without having to own them. So I give them back to their owners when they get back. But I still really enjoy them.
Yeah. Have you happened to have followed some of the programs on Knowledge Network? There's one or two right on right now about dogs and the different breeds and the characteristics of different breeds and so forth. Very interesting.
No, I haven't, because I'm meeting all these. I never knew there was Australian cattle dogs until about a month
You're right.
ago.
Well,
And
and
I really,
I've been
yeah,
enjoying it, and that's been my way of getting my dog fixed because I can't have a dog. So,
well, and next week I'm with a Woodle. It's a Wheaton Terrier and a Poodle mix. I
wow,
think that's what it
Woodle.
is. It's
Wow,
called a Woodle. Yeah,
wow,
I've met the
interesting.
dog already. Yeah,
Oh, right
but
on.
I meet all these dogs I never knew.
Right. Perfect.
Dijon Frise, which was Rupert.
Yeah.
It was cute.
All these
Anyway,
mixes and so forth.
yes.
Okay, so thank you, and we're going to move on to, let me see, Alana, I think you were next. And you are in a different place this morning as well, aren't you?
I am. I am in a different place today because my broadband continues to let me down. So I am renting some space in a little internet building that we have here, which is fantastic. It's right down the street from my house, and they have hot desks, so I can come here any day I want and just pay a daily fee, which is what I'm doing today, or I can rent a desk space, which I'm looking into as well. Okay, so greetings everyone. My name is Alana, coming to you from Ireland, and my company is ALB Digital Marketing Services, and I help people make money online with my emptynester.blog.com website, and I also have clients that I work for, helping them with their websites as well. So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I'm kind of wear a lot of hats, but it's a lot of fun and I enjoy it, and I love being able to work from anywhere. So,
Mm-hmm. Right.
I've been able to prove that time and time again, just by coming here and going to Connecticut and visiting the U.S. and all that sort of thing. So,
well, and it's interesting that you raised that, because Vivek and I, when we were chatting, we were talking about that sort of different style of person. He was talking about some people who like to work for one kind of company that where they have one kind of narrow focus, and they're given very stringent, strict guidelines as to what their job is. And then there's another kind of job where you're expected to do whatever needs doing. And there's the kind of person that and I think many of us are like that. I know Vivek is, I know I am, it sounds like you are too, that you love the variety. Well, and Fred, you are too, because the variety, being able to make that shift and see what needs to be done and be able to do all those things. I mean, they seem to be kind of related to different personality styles, I think. So
yeah, and I think that when you're in this type of situation, that you have to have some leadership qualities, because I when I think back on my career and all the jobs I've had in the past, whenever you wanted to do something or you saw something that you knew how to do or knew needed to be done, you had to go ask a manager, okay, I think it needs to be fixed like this. And they would give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. Whereas in our jobs, the buck stops with us and we got to fix it. And I don't have to ask anybody. It's like, okay, I know how to fix this and I'm going to fix it. And I don't have to ask anybody about that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So
cuts out a lot of red tape.
Yeah. Well, but we're gonna cover that a little bit in more depth later on in this discussion. But it sounds like we all have a bit of that kind of being able to roll with changes. So yeah. So I'm so glad that you were able to make the arrangements to be here, Alana. I know that you did.
And I probably will have to leave smack on 6 because the building actually closes at 5, but they've told me how to leave the building without setting off alarms. And I also have to go home and feed my dog. He was supposed to be fed like an hour ago. So I have a dog relying on me as well. So
yeah, right on. So welcome here. Let me see who else. Nathan, I do believe you were next. I'm trying to just go with the order in which people came in. So welcome, Nathan. What are you up to?
Helps if I unmute myself.
Yes, it does.
Few things. Yesterday I put up a posting for a talk that I'll be giving here in Buenos in Mexico. Been invited to speak at a place called Elaine's, and this is for the talk that I was working on a signature talk, which I'll be doing for a TED Talk down the road, which that's due to happen in November. And Fred, I'm in the process of sending you the updated talk. You'll get it today. So anyway, it was originally about to do techniques of silencing the mind, but as I started writing it out, the dominant theme came up about self-sabotage, which is unfortunately a big part of my life, and it's largely an unconscious thing. And so I thought, well, that's where it seems to be going. So I just embraced it, and so I've written this talk about it. So there's the thing at Elaine's, there's the TED Talk in November, and something else which came up, part of a network. I was a part of an ongoing chat on Skype, like an ongoing mastermind kind of thing. And I met a guy from there, and he reached out to me a few days ago and introduced me to another fellow. And the end result is that we're going to be creating a lot of online courses, short courses on Udemy that will be feeder things for other things. In other words, it will be like a type of a landing page, if you will, but in the form of a course, 60 to 90 minute courses. And I'd been looking for someone like this guy for a long time. And then this friend of mine just reaches out of the clear blue sky, says, hey, I want you to meet Scott here. And we wound up talking, and we've decided to work together. And there's a lot that we can do. And if you don't know this, I mean, I've been involved with course creation for 20 years. I've been doing a lot of it in one way or another. So this is like a gift from heaven, this thing.
Right.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. And the first course is going to be based on the self-sabotage thing.
Right.
And we're going to do something kind of different on Udemy. We're going to be doing an interview style back and forth of creating courses. So it'll be like a podcast on Udemy, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
Yeah, it just sounds like it. Now, I just need to point up to something that Nathan said. Did everybody notice that Nathan said, I'll be, Fred, I'll be sending you the content, etc., etc. So this is another example of the fact that we're all supporting one another and doing business with one another. So I don't know whether whether you wanted me to bring that up or point that out, Nathan, but I think it's just it's what this is all about.
It's totally fine. I mean, Fred and I have been talking about this for a while, and I mean, we do what we can to support each other in this group. And I've had Jay reach out to me. I've reached out to Jay. There's you. We've at various times we just offer support to each other if it feels right.
Yes.
And it's been a really nice group. It's been great to be a part of it all these years.
Thank you, and I agree. It feels that good. It feels that way to me as well. So thank you. I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy you're going to have an opportunity to do that presentation, because from something I read not long ago, the first time you do a presentation, that's when you will find out all the things that you need to tighten down. So that's great for you to have that opportunity.
Actually, it's already happened. There was one other thing. I joined a coaching program, and I was talking with them about what I'm doing, and the guy said, well, why don't you take your talk and do actually do it in front of a camera, then post it in the group. And I went, oh boy. Well, I wound up reading instead of trying to present it, because it was just, there was so much in it. But I did that yesterday, actually.
Oh, did you? Right on.
So so we'll see what happens.
Right. That's
I,
good.
I have to now start practicing it, but it would also be good to get feedback, because what I'm doing is something different, and I'll finish with this. It's like doing a presentation which will get people to want to work with me without doing a sales pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. We all get that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's good. So, Gina, I think you were the next one who came in.
Barreling in. Okay, hi, Gina Donaldson with Personal Passage Planning here in beautiful Victoria on Vancouver Island. Had a kind of exciting start to my day because I wrote an article for our Times Colonist, and it was published today.
Oh, cool.
I couldn't ask for anything more beautiful.
Oh, congratulations. That is so awesome.
And the thing about this is I've been meaning to, talk about things that keep us from being successful, self-sabotage. I've been meaning to write an article for the Times Colonist for about a year. And the deal is that you put in an ad and then you write an article, but you can't sell your business. You can mention it. So it doesn't even say by Gina Donaldson, it just says in my business. But it took me a long time to get to it. But for a very low cost, my business card is here on the same page. Seriously, I got a half a page of advertising on it's amazing. And I called it Affairs in Our Senior Years.
Right on. Right on.
But my darling husband came up with it, actually. I wish I could say I came up with it. But he said, how about Affairs in Our Senior Years? Because he's such a little monkey sometimes. Because this generation remembers it's okay to say, get your affairs in order.
Oh, yes. Right.
It's not, make sure the ladies don't talk. So there you go. That's my
congratulations.
Yeah. Pretty excited.
Yeah, that's great. And it strikes me that it's probably time you and I had another coffee date.
Yes.
Because I have a couple of ideas.
Okay.
So bring on.
Okay, thanks.
So since Vivek, you're right beside Gina in my film strip here, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. People call me Vivek. Wake Technology is my website. We wake up your potential. So unify, simplify, amplify life is my tagline. I try to unify different technologies to make it simple for you. So that's what I do. And last couple of days, I did become a paid member of WA after a long time. It says I joined in 2016, but I haven't really been anything there. So joined just a couple of days ago. So it has been a good experience so far.
Oh, right on. Cool. That's good news, isn't it, Jay? So I'm so happy that you're here, and I don't know. I don't think you said you're in the UK.
I'm in the UK, yes, and it has been quite hot, not warm, hot.
Yes.
So yeah, weather has been really good in my opinion. Really hot in others. Yeah,
yes.
that's the way it is.
Right. Well, it's cooled off here, so we're not complaining, are we? Are we, Jay and Fred and Gina? Oh dear. So it's great to have you, Vivek. So Jay, I think you're next. I hope I've got everybody. Let me just make sure that my film strip is telling me who's here. Yeah. So, what's new with you, Jay?
Well, first, let's do a mic check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Jay. My company is Magi Studios. We help people get started in the world of online marketing through coach, consulting, and training. Happy to be here, hailing from sunny Langford, where it's a balmy 29 degrees with a nice southerly wind coming in from Victoria's Inner Harbor. Today we expect weather.
So, Jay, did you attend Symphony Splash on Sunday night?
Absolutely not.
You didn't? Oh my word!
You know what I did? I watched it on like maybe 30 seconds of it on Facebook Live on Czech News.
Yeah.
Had it, so.
Well,
yeah, I was satisfied with that. So.
You were. Well, my walking partner goes down every year at 6:30 a.m. with all the things that like tarps and chairs and whatnot. Blocks off a space right on the causeway, up a bit so you can see over all the people milling around, and there were at least 10 of us from my choir bunch. We all took our chairs down, and food and wine to share, and we made a day of it. I think I got there at 4 o'clock and stayed until the fireworks were over at 10. So it was great.
Yeah, it was a beautiful sunset. I mean, couldn't have had a better
It was amazing. Because we other years we've had to have blankets and heavy sweaters and stuff at night. I never even put the heavy sweater on last night. It was beautiful. Yeah. Or Sunday night. Yeah. It was quite. But thousands were there. So now, Jay, I want to thank you publicly for something that you shared on a little hangout that we were on Sunday night. You shared a book with us, and I went right out and bought it and spent the whole weekend on it. So are you up for sharing the name of that book, etc.?
I think so. Hold on. I do. I have it here. Are you talking about that or the other one?
I haven't got that yet, but I have the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 second here. What's the name of it? I actually forget the name of it.
I think it's the 60 minute
Oh yeah, 1 hour content plan.
1 hour content planner. Yeah.
Yeah.
By Mira.
Yeah. Kotan.
Yeah.
Mira Kotan.
Yeah. That book is one of the most valuable things I think I have stumbled on in a long, long time.
Yeah, she's a great writer, really simplifies things, into malleable chunks of blogging dinner.
Yeah. Well, it's as I would say, it's specifically useful for people who are wanting to write a regular blog post, and you run out of ideas, and how do you feed that constantly? And so the other thing that I found absolutely fascinating about the book, like I just downloaded the Kindle thing.
Yeah.
But within the book, there's a link that takes you to a web page, and you download all of the templates that she talks about. And so it's all part of that. And as part of that process, you end up on her list. And so you receive some follow-up emails from her, which help to solidify the content of her book. So yeah, that's the templates. And the thing that I find really interesting, every bit as interesting as her book content, is to observe her process, the steps in her process. And that's kind of a little bit in line with your topic on Friday night that was about creating your sales funnel or your website funnel. So it was fascinating to me to observe the way that she has done that. So I think it's absolutely there. Who's sharing their screen?
I think that's Vivek.
Is it?
Yeah, that's me.
He's taken over the internet.
Thank you, Vivek. That's great. And
Both the books, I think, are being shown there.
yes,
So,
they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I can't recommend it enough. And I mean, I don't have any I don't have anything to gain right now by recommending it, other than to I'm doing that by way of sharing a resource that I found extremely useful.
Just fill in the karma pool. Fill in the karma.
Yes, Phil,
Right.
that's a great way to say that.
I actually really do recommend to get this as well. This is actually a workbook.
Yeah.
So in terms of being able to write it down,
Yeah.
it's very handy. It's actually
Yeah.
really handy. So
Yeah. Well, I haven't gone that far. I'm almost finished the book, but I may do that. So big thanks to you for sharing that.
you're welcome.
Jay.
Just to clarify, it was Friday night, not Sunday night, unless
That's
you have.
right. Right. It
time
was
travel.
Friday night. Did I say Sunday night? My brain
Yeah,
is.
you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was great. Yes,
I have a question. Which one is preferable, Kindle or paperback?
I don't know. I did the Kindle, and it was useful.
I think I use the Kindle as well. I think it really does depend on your reading habits. You know, if you like to read on a Kindle or on your computer, right? You can go to kindle.amazon.com, and then you can read right on your browser. So yeah, I think it really does depend.
Yeah,
You can also download the Kindle app and read it on a smartphone, which is what I've been doing.
Yeah, yeah, you can. So it's yeah. I mean, ordinarily, a book like this, I might have said, in answer to your question, Vivek, that probably the hard copy would have been good so that you could sort of make notes and do whatever. But the fact that she provides from within the book the link to a page where you can download all this stuff, plus that she calls it a bonus something, and they're like
Quick update. I just bought it.
you. Right on. So, but the fact that she provides that makes me say that the Kindle would be adequate. Okay. So before we get to our topic, I really want to acknowledge some people out on the website page. Roz Boundy is here from Australia, and we know that she's struggling to stay awake due to the time
Burning the
change.
midnight oil.
Yes, burning the midnight oil. And I see that Heidi is also there. She said she was just sneaking in to listen. So I welcome both of them. I don't know. I know that David has been trying to get in this morning. He was looking for the link, and I might say, by way of explanation to everyone, Vivek and I did some major updating of the Chipmunk tool that he created that helps me get the message out to everybody about this, the links and so forth. So I don't know what's happened to David. He emailed me early this morning and said, I didn't get any notifications. So, but you folks are all here, so I'm assuming that you all got notifications, so I'll have to look into that. So, but I'm assuming since Heidi and Roz are there that they must have as well. So, I don't know. Yeah. we all have our bandwidth and computer issues that arise over and over. So anyway, so let's get to the topic that we were going to talk about this morning, and that was the advantages and disadvantages of being in business. And before we go dive into the discussion, I do want to alert everybody to the fact that I posted, I don't know, it's a couple of years ago now, I think, on my lowland.com website, 2 blog posts. One called The Disadvantages of Being Self-Employed, and then the advantages of being self-employed. So I had an existing list, so you might find something there. So, but I don't want to cut off our discussion. But I thought it would be fun to pick up where Alana, she said last week when we were talking about this in the green room, she said, well, the big difference is that when you're being paid a salary, you do things and you just carry on with, and the thing that you have to learn about being in business for yourself is that you need to learn how to hustle. And some people don't like hustling very much. And I guess that's a little bit in line with what we said a little bit earlier about personalities and people who are able to deal with change and who are able to roll with that and just kind of carry on. Whereas there are other people that like a great deal of structure, etc. So whether we see being in business as an advantage or a disadvantage, I think does depend to some degree on our personality style. But
can I please jump in on that?
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of you need to be able to hustle, but I do think it's a learned asset. I don't think it's something that you're really born with. I mean, I used to be a very shy person, so and I mean, I'm not really shy anymore. But and, like,
that's the understatement of the year.
And I didn't like asking for money, because hustle, I guess, kind of gets in the way of your pride, right? I think pride is a big door that you need to open up and be able to kind of walk through it and bypass it, right? A lot of people, I find that in my experience, that a lot of people tend to be very proud people where they don't want to ask for money. But in essence, you're asking for money because you've done a service for that person or that company.
That's right.
So
that's right.
But yeah, I really do believe that hustling is an asset that's learned through experience, by all means. And the more often you attempt to do it, the better you become at it. So.
Well, Jay, I know you're saying that you're thinking of personality as being a very finite thing, and I guess I have to clarify that and say that our personalities do evolve over time. I honestly believe that our personalities evolve based on the opportunities for growth that we have exposed ourselves to, or we've been exposed to. And so as time goes on, our personal development does change to some degree. So I couldn't agree more in terms of learning to hustle. But and going back to what my one of my article pointed up was that, so many of us get these sales phone calls, and we just hate being sold to. And so then when we think about going into business, we think about how much we hate that being sold to, and then that makes us really reluctant to want to be able to hustle and ask for money, as Jay says. So, and the nub in what he said is that's key, is to recognize that and do, to provide a real service to somebody who needs it. And when you're able to provide that real service to somebody that needs it, then it's it is a hustle for sure. Figuring out what it is they need and giving them the steps that they need to take, etc. But when you can think about what you do as being of real value, then it's not being salesy then, is it? Yeah. So that asking for money and hustling and being out there, it is very, very basic to being in business for sure. So I noticed, Gina, when we were saying that, you were nodding. Are you feeling like you need to add something? No.
Alana and Nathan were raising their hands.
Okay, so Alana, go ahead.
Oh, you muted yourself, Alana.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to make one quick point there. There's a difference, I think, between selling a product, because, basically there's a difference between selling a product and selling yourself. So I think for me, the hardest part has been determining what my services are worth. So I think when you're starting out and you're trying to gauge, what the market will bear versus what you think you're worth, I think for me personally, that's been my biggest struggle. So that's what I just wanted to throw out there.
And that's a huge thing, being able to sell yourself. It is easier to sell a product, isn't it? Way easier, for sure.
I do have an answer for that.
Go ahead.
So there's a couple ways to go about that. One is start out at $50 an hour and grow from there, based on services rendered, okay? The other way is to determine how much money you want to make in a month, okay? So if you want to make, say, 10 grand, or let's say $6,000 a month. So you take 6 grand, determine how many hours there are in working hours there are within a day. Mm-hmm. So if it's, if you're staying within the normal corporate world of 8 hours, so you go 8 hours times 20, right? Yeah. So there's 20, basically we'll say that there's 20 days, so 8 hours times 20, and then you divide 10 grand or 6 grand divided by that number, and then that's your target hourly rate. Mm-hmm.
Well,
does that make sense?
Yes, and I might say to you that right now I have developed how to set your fees as a consultant piece that will be on my beingyourownCEO.com within days. So, and you're absolutely right. The other piece to that is, yes, you figure out what you're worth. But if you're trying to figure out setting your fees, you also need to take into account all of the expenses that you have.
Yeah, break-even analysis.
You have to work through both sides of that. And the other piece that you need to work on or to look at is the going rate in relation to the client that you want to work with. So there are a number of pieces that you need to look at But that's one of the things that I find with a lot of solopreneurs is that they're really nervous about charging what they're worth. And it takes a bit of rethinking, and it does take a bit of coaching to help the person kind of see things from a different angle, and to be able to come away with realizing that what they have has value, what they're offering has value. Yeah, so you're right, Jay. So Nathan, I guess you had something, and maybe we've moved on now. You're probably wondering what it was you wanted to say.
Nope, it's all pertinent. It's all relative. But the way that so many other people work, it's entirely different when you're working in the field of writing for magazines, which is what I've done for most of my career. And so I'll address that, and also joint ventures. Writing for magazines, every magazine has their style, but they also have their pay rate and what they pay for articles, whether they pay by word or by page or by project. And so it's determining which ones are the best fit for you in terms of that. And in terms of the marketing, it would be writing a query letter and sending those out. And I really got over a lot of my sales shyness simply because I would be sending as many as like 30 or 40 pitches out in a day. And one of the things that happened is, because of the, I don't know what I would call it, I'm tempted to say impersonal nature of it, but because I wasn't contacting people directly, it became really easy for me to send out all these pitches and never have to worry about rejection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it was rather cool that way. And it created like a buffer or a barrier. But the other thing of writing a letter like that and sending it out and then following up later, the letter would break the ice for me, and it would change my mindset. So if I did follow up by phone, it would be really easy.
Mm-hmm.
It changed the dynamics and made it easier for me to do a pitch. But mostly I would just do pitches by email.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I would do it, I would do the pitches by email and follow up by phone later, because quite often when you send out a letter, it falls between the cracks and they don't actually get it. If you follow up with a phone call, it's like, hey, did you get the blah, blah, blah? And it's, no, we didn't get it. And so it's rather useful that way. But in terms of your value, the thing that I discovered is magazine writing, there's a cap on it. You can only go so far, even with the best magazines out there, partly due to the workload, partly to do with what they offer. And if you want to go further, you got to get into things like affiliate marketing and joint ventures. And that's when I switched out of it a number of years ago, because I realized that I could only go so far. And the best thing I ever did was to learn joint ventures. And now this thing that I'm working on is a joint venture. Now on Udemy, the amount that we can make is minuscule in terms of the courses, but we can use the courses as a feeder to our sites. And so long as we do it in a particular way, and this guy has a formula, then we can really increase what we offer in terms of backend. And this is all part of Jay's world. And Jay and me, we overlap a lot in terms of what is possible.
So I was thinking about, I mean, we've talked about hustling and selling yourself. Can anybody sort of come up with either a disadvantage or an advantage? I don't want, I mean, I could sit and list all these, and I really don't think it's useful for any of us to concentrate only on disadvantages.
Can I?
Yeah.
When we were talking about evaluating one's own worth and things like that, one thing that came to my mind was what I read about an effect called as Dunning-Kruger effect. That there is a thesis paper, someone got a doctorate and so on. That is one where you think the gist of the whole thing is smart people think that everyone else is also equally smart, which means they typically undervalue themselves. because they think that if I'm smart enough to know this, everyone else should be able to know that as well. So
Then you start to then you get your mind goes into that I'm a fraud. Yeah.
undervalue yourself.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Undermining your own authority. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
What was it called, Vivek?
Dunning-Kruger. If you Google it, Dunning-Kruger effect. If you Google Dunning-Kruger effect,
Okay.
Can you
Kruger
do
with
us
a
a
K.
favor and post that in the chat or something, or write it out or something?
Yeah.
Because I'm not
Yeah.
getting it.
Yeah. So we'll try and put something in. Nathan, I realize that you don't the comment section. I have the comment section within Zoom disabled purposely because it pops up and disrupts the recording, and so therefore, there it is. KRUGER, right? So if you go to my website and look for the VCP page there's a comment stream and you can find and put things in there. Thank you for doing that, Vivek, and we should probably put we should probably put a link in there on the VCP page. We can do that. Thank you for doing that, Vivek. He's kind of he's watching the page on my website for comments and things. So I appreciate that, Vivek, a great deal. So
it was Jay who shared the screen right now.
Oh, it was. Oh, I thought it was you.
No.
Oh, they're all taken over.
Okay, Vivek can have the credit. I'll just take build my pool.
So another thing that that came up for me as I thought about this is how being in business and can be all consuming. So, and this relates a little bit to what we said, Nancy. We were talking about taking some time off and to visit family or to have a breather, because being in business, it is all consuming. You eat, sleep, and dream what's going on in your business. And I mean, some people probably don't enjoy that. Some
could say that that's a disadvantage.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Some of these things, some people would say one, and others would say another. But it's certainly for me, it's an advantage because it's fun. I find it's fun, thinking about it, and okay, so what's next, and how can we do this, and so forth. So,
but then there's the aspect of being in relationship, and I remember in my past relationship,
yeah.
My girlfriend was always on my case about working too much, and she was right. She was right. And in recent years, one of the things that I've done is I've designated one day for like zero work, no matter what. Just to give myself a break, just to get away from it. It's like a strategy I use for writing is that I don't try to create everything all at once and get it out there. I walk away from it when I'm done, and I come back a day or two later. And if you wonder, well, why would you do that? It's because whenever I do it, there's the fresh eyes approach.
Yes, absolutely.
And it works every single time. So.
Well, not only fresh eyes, Nathan. I have to agree with you. I do the same thing. Sunday, I rarely I'm rarely online on Sunday. That's my no screen day. And sometimes even Saturday, depending. Sometimes both, sometimes one or the other. But the other thing that I find is when you take a breakaway, fresh eyes, in terms of editing and seeing whatever. But I find sometimes there's kind of a wider meaning of fresh eyes, where as your brain, your subconscious brain is just kind of working away, and suddenly something occurs to you that didn't occur to you while you were working on it, and it's a major upgrade. So that's a very valuable thing to do. So I mean, the importance of trying to free your brain and give yourself a break is of value in the long run.
Yeah, there's another strategy I've used a number of times, which is to work at programming my mind before I go to sleep. And quite often when I do that, I'll either wake up in the middle of the night with a solution or the next morning. And I remember this one thing where I was bugged about these conflicts I was going through. And I woke up the next morning just before I was about to go out for coffee. This thing popped into my head which said, look up parts integration NLP. Mm-hmm. I'd heard about it, but, and I looked it up and I found the answers to my problems, and wound up doing these things called parts integration, and a whole bunch of issues in my life went away.
Yeah.
It's designed for resolving conflict, but it was really amazing. And whenever I do that, I shouldn't say whenever, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes I have to do it for a period of days or a week, and then the solution comes.
Yeah. So anybody else have any thoughts around owning your brain?
Well, my situation recently was that I took on a new client, and the first time I met with this woman, I told her my hourly rate, and then I told her I would discount it. And she said, I don't want you to do that. I want to pay your full rate. And I said, fantastic. So I moved her website, and then while I was gone, something happened. So that's something that I decided I would take care of for her right away. So it was about 10 o'clock at night. I got a notification. She said, my site is down. Can you help? She said, look at it first thing in the morning. And again, my motto is exceed expectations. So I said, no, I'm going to look at it right now. So I went online and I fixed it. I got it back online. But yeah, so I mean, I'm willing to do stuff like that, but I try not to do it on a weekend. I do try to disconnect on the weekend. So I kind of set up my brain. Monday to Friday is work mode. Saturday, Sunday is play mode.
So the coaching terminology for that: set your boundaries.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah. That's good.
I mean, that goes, that terminology goes beyond, what you do on the weekends. So it goes beyond, it applies to a lot of different things, but it is important for us to do that. And
it applies to the entire life, I would say.
Yes, it does.
Set boundaries, even for a relationship.
Boundaries is actually one of the topics that I talk about, and I'm going to be doing a talk on that one topic just by itself, because it's so enormously huge, especially if you're, and beyond business, of course, but especially if you're dealing with abusive relationships or people who take advantage, or if you have problems in any way to do with bullying, all sorts of aspects of it. And it's something I didn't grow up with. I had to learn, but as I learned it, I started developing scripts and stories and how do boundaries work and why do we have them? And I didn't even know that I had them until somebody told me one day. This is quite a surprise.
Well, on that note, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'd just like to throw this out. You can't, this is the perfect timing. I was saying to Lolan earlier, because I've kind of gone like I do the big push. I get my client roster full, go into their 12-week program, renew, and then all of a sudden, there's nobody. And it's like, oh man, I got to start all over again. And I'm at the point now, it's like, really? And Revenue Canada is on my back, so I need to make some money. So I'm actually looking at going back sub for the public school board. But on that note, boundaries, I found, like, just for an example, one of my clients finished, and then she said, hey, I'd love to go for a walk with you. I'd love to be your friend. And I know one of her issues has been lack of friends or lack of community. And I'm thinking, I know what'll happen on the walk. She's going to talk about exactly the same things that she talked about in my office. So now I'm trying to think of how do I gracefully step out of that request.
It's actually very simple. You say no.
Just say,
You just say this doesn't work for me, and you
Right.
say no. And if she presses you for an explanation, don't give one because you don't know it.
yeah.
You don't know it. And you see, the problem is when somebody asks you for an explanation, when you say no, they can use that as leverage to drag you back into the thing. If you study the work of Byron Katie, highly recommend her book, Loving What Is. She talks about this kind of thing in more detail than I am. Highly recommend you get it and read it. It will help.
All right. Well, I'm very grateful to the Wealthy Affiliate Program because I'm looking at doing business a whole new way. Instead of trying to gather all these clients to sit down in front of you and all of those things that come along with it, just build a following online and offer support through
Can I
that.
quickly jump in on that? Nancy, one thing that I would recommend you think about is that, you know, if you have a 12-week cycle of clients, and then when it gets to that near end, the cycle, and then you realize, oh no, there's no, you know, the next cycle, there's no clients. Create a waiting list or a funnel of some sort at week 6. So get people on some sort of email list or mailing list. I find that waiting lists, or I like to call them VIP lists, tend to build a lot of hype. Now, this may not be with every niche, but I think it works pretty well because people love that exclusivity type of scenario. You know, if you think about, and I've mentioned this a couple times in the past. I think it was in a webinar though, but where Google, when Gmail first signed up, right? When Gmail first existed, they were only handing out invites. And when you got an invite, I think you were able to invite 2 other people or something. And there were people selling these invites on eBay for like $500 and stuff, right? But it was all because, and bloody hell, it was just an email address, right? So, but it created this hype, right? Everyone wants to be behind that red velvet rope, you know? Everyone wants into that nightclub, right? They don't want to be standing outside. They want in there, right? So there's hype. So if you could sell hype, then, you know, and if you can do it within a 6 or a 4-week cycle, and have a drip campaign, I think that's where that's going to solve that issue, that problem. In regards to your friend, I think you get them into that list, right? In that funnel, say, listen, I can actually really help you, but I can do it through email. Just go to this page, and then we'll go from there. And you don't. And then, and you don't have to then explain, well, it's an automated list. It's actually not me, but, you know, because, you know, let them enjoy, you know, what's available for you. So,
if there's a way that you can redirect it, that's another approach, what Jay is suggesting, because there are always going to be people who will want your time. And you have to pick and choose, well, who do I let in and who do I not let in? And with boundaries, it can be really, really tough when the pushback happens, as it inevitably will.
Well, and I mean, really, this particular situation that Nancy's saying, this is somebody who is still needy.
Oh yeah, she still needs my help. And it was kind of like, oh, my mom's doing so much better now. I don't need to come anymore. I'm like, there's so much more going on than that.
Yes.
And so, say, let's go for
so
I'm dedicating my time to my clients.
But you don't want to turn her away either. What you want to do is to redirect her to further service. So
I'll just let her know I'm just reformulating my services, and I do have a VIP waiting list.
Yeah, yeah,
And I will add her to that list and keep her
yeah.
informed as to what my next offerings are.
I think
Because
Yeah.
can I add something there?
Yeah.
yeah,
As a software developer for a long time, what I have learned is what is called as scope creep. You're given
Yes.
a set
Project
of
creep. Project creep. Yeah, same
software.
thing.
These are the things I need you to develop. That is given at the beginning, and then a few things are added. You go on adding things, and then grows like anything. So software, it's scope creeping scope. So in this scenario, I see that. Is that what's being tried? Is she trying to say that what I have already paid you for actually covers these as well,
Yeah.
while actually adding more things?
it's funny you'd say that, because there's a little bit of it in the back of my head thinking like, well, she has spent so much money. Like, she's seen me for a year. She's buying all my USANA products. But I just don't want to have to say, you know what, I can't talk about that right now on this walk. This is not why we're on a walk. So I'm just going to redirect her to, I'm really dedicating my time to my new offerings and my new branding. And I will put you on the VIP list when I'm ready to launch that.
Right. So I'm looking at the clock here. I mean, there's a gazillion other things that I could say in terms of advantages and disadvantages. One of them I really do need to say, and that is one of the advantages, I think, and we probably all would agree, is the flexibility in our work schedule. So if a day comes along in the middle of the weeks where I really, really want to do something, I can do that and choose to do rearrange things and do the work in a different order or in a different way. And that's that kind of flexibility, I think, and Gina, I'm sure you would agree, working with seniors and retired people, etc. That's what they all want. They want to do something, but they want the flexibility. And so there is a certain element of flexibility until you get yourself so full that you can't move. But then you have to lay your boundaries, and if that happens, then that's time to raise your fees and etc. So I mean, there's that flexibility is a really key thing. Yeah. So anybody else, before we do a closing, anybody else have a key thing that they really feel as though we should add? Fred, you're waving.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, being your own boss, you don't have a boss. That's an advantage and disadvantage, because you have to be your own boss, and that can be a challenge. So you have to have systems that will work, because you can take time off, but if you take too much time off, you're not going to be very successful. So little techniques like power blocks. You say, okay, I'm going to spend a certain period of time and saying, what are the 2 or 3 things I'm going to do today, and then spend power blocks, maybe 40, 50 minutes, take a 10-minute break, and see and analyze what you did in that 40 minutes. You might have seen some nice shiny object, something distracted you, and said, oh my gosh, I didn't. That's self-management, because you don't have a boss. You have to be your own boss. Lots of techniques you have to learn. So this is self-development. And this is what the advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages, you have to develop yourself. The advantages, you're going to develop yourself, hopefully in a very positive manner. So this is what I think running your own business is really a wonderful experience, but a challenge. And but all challenges are worthwhile if you can overcome them. Even the trip and the journey is part of the fun.
Well,
I think that's what it's all about.
yeah, and I don't know if anybody here listened to CBC on Sunday. They had a cross country checkup. It's one of those phone in shows, and people were invited to call in and talk about leaving and giving up something to fulfill a dream. And it was really interesting to hear all of the things all of the reasons that people gave for leaving professions and high-end jobs and low-end jobs and all of that for a different lifestyle and a different work style. But one of the key things that they talked about was something that you just said, Fred, and that is that some people get to the point where they've run out of challenges in what they were doing before. And so they've moved on into following their dream because they're up for a new challenge. They really were looking for a new challenge. And certainly being in business for yourself is a challenge. There's no question about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing. Ross asked what kind of dogs they were. They were red heelers, not blue heelers.
Right.
The Australian cattle dogs. And they came from Australia, so these dogs are...
Oh, right on. So it's, oh my goodness, we're over time again. So I really need to tell everyone in the green room, if you wish to stay, you are welcome to stay, but I'm going to take the action to have the ending come with a reminder it's important to do what you love with passion.